All right, what up, and welcome back to Pnoid News, motherfuckers. How y'all doing today, man? Listen, I know, like, my mouth is not the best mouth in the world, but I'll be real. Like, this is my first test run of this bitch, so it's gonna be what it is. But anyway, so with Roe v. Wade, you know what I'm saying, going up in front of the Supreme Court this week, you know damn well there's a whole bunch of nonsense all over the news about how, like, the women's is going to lose all their stuffs. So, you know what I mean, I figured, and I mean, maybe Tom Pease ought to stand here and, you know what I mean, like, break some shit down and have a conversation about this, because this tends to be something that is right up my alley and shit. So let's, you know what I mean, let's get down to it, right? All right. So this is the original Roe v. Wade actual thing, right? It says, Justice Harry Blackmun delivered the opinion for the majority 7-2. And he said, first, the court considered whether the case was moot, concluding that it was not, when the subject of litigation is capable of repetition yet evading review. A case need not be dismissed as moot. Pregnancy is a classic justification for a conclusion of non-mootness. The Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment protects against state action. The right to privacy and a woman's right to choose to have an abortion falls within that right to privacy. A state law that broadly prohibits abortion without respect to the stage of pregnancies or other interests violates that right, although the state has legitimate interest in protecting the health of pregnant women and the potentiality of human life. The relative weight of each of these interests varies over the course of the pregnancy, and the law must account for this variability. In the first trimester of pregnancy, the state may not regulate the abortion decision. Only the pregnant woman and her attendant physician can make that decision. In the second trimester, the state may impose regulations on abortion that are reasonably related to maternal health. In the third trimester, once the fetus reaches the point of viability, a state may regulate abortions or prohibit them entirely, so long as the laws contain exceptions for cases when the abortion is necessary to save the life and health of the mother. I mean, we can argue about this, right? But that is not a bad take, right? Legitimately, it's not a terrible take on things. So the mentality is this: you have two lives, right? You know what I'm saying? And saving one may kill the other. That's a hard question to ask. Now, here's the problem. The problem is that women are selfish, right? Dudes are selfish. Human beings are selfish motherfucking creatures. But as a father, right? Like, would I be willing to stand here and give up my life for my kids? 100 motherfucking %, right? There's not even a question of that, right? In any way, shape, or form. Like, there's never a question of that, ever, right? It's never a question as to whether or not, you know what I mean, like, we can stand here and have this conversation and go, hey, look, you know what I mean, are we supposed to stand here and actually have this talk about things and go, well, should we sit here and, you know what I mean, like, be able to murder babies, right? So let's have a conversation about the numbers, because I think it's motherfucking important. All right, so this is how the breakdown looks, right? Like, the number of abortions performed, you know what I'm saying, per year and shit, right? And the red and the blue are, you know what I mean, like, who was in charge at that point, right? Because you have the reds are Republican administrations, the blues are Democrat administrations, right? That first one there, I think, is Nixon, and then you had, man, listen, what's his name? Not Gerald Ford, the guy who was, like, really the peanut farmer. I forget his name, but anyway, right? Then you had Reagan, then you had Bush, then you had Clinton, then you had Bush, then you had Obama, and then, you know what I mean, this begins into Trump in 2017. So, like, the highest amount of pregnancies legitimately were, like, during the Carter administration. There we go, Jimmy Carter, right? Through the Carter administration up into the Reagan administration, and they started going down. Now, this is only through a process of, like, you know, female standing here and having, how do I put this, man? Having, I guess, like, because it's always been on the decline, right? Kind of like how things operate. And I think actually, like, you know what I mean, different states measure things different ways, and certain states don't report shit. But, you know what I mean, like, you know, it hit a high water mark in 1981 with 29.3 out of every 100 or 1,000 fucking pregnancies, right? Or number of abortions per 1,000 women. 29 fucking abortions. Like, it's so much higher than COVID. We don't really have a problem with that. You know what I mean? right? And then we'll look at this one here, right? Number of abortions and abortion ratio in the U.S., right? So, like, here's a crazy thing. Like, the highest high water mark, you know what I'm saying, was during the Bush administration in 1990, right? With, like, 1990, 1991, with 1.6 million children were motherfucking, you know what I mean, aborted and shit. So, the number of abortions and abortion ratio in the U.S. 1973 to 2017. The abortion ratio is a number of abortions per 100 pregnancies in and ending in abortion or live birth. So, you know, I mean, that's basically a percentage point. It's like 30%, you know, I mean, during, you know, I mean, the Reagan administration and shit. And it's down to like 18% of all pregnancies end in abortion right now in the United States. That may seem high, but, you know, we've covered this before. You know what I mean? We've covered this before, right? All right. So, in Virginia, they had last year this crazy ass thing, or 2 years ago, they had this crazy ass thing where like they were going to have like post-birth abortions, right? So let's read this. Northam was referring to third trimester abortions that are done in cases where there may be severe deformities. There may be a fetus that's non-viable. He said, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant will be delivered. The infant will be kept comfortable. The infant will be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desire. And then the discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother about whether or not to kill the baby. That's the end of that sentence. So to put that in there, you're like legit, like I feel like we shouldn't have that fucking ability, right? Gilbert, posing a hypothetical and rare scenario, asked whether if a mother, man, listen, did I put this in here wrong? Is that what's going on? Did I cut this wrong? I might have cut this wrong, right? Could request an abortion. He indicated it would impair the mental health of the mother. You know what I'm saying? The bill would allow that. Yo, man, listen, fucking, and Tran later corrected himself, said Washington Post, she would have said clearly no, because infanticide is not allowed, right? Like, is that why? You know what I mean? It can't be the fact that, like, murdering a baby might be a bad thing, right? This legislator Tran said that, like, yo, they would allow for, you know what I'm saying, a post-birth abortion, basically murdering an infant, if, and this is important, if the mother, you know what I'm saying, would have like detrimental mental health effects. Literally don't care, right? Like, you don't get to kill somebody because, like, yo, it's going to fuck my head up if they're born. Like, shut up, stupid. You know what I mean? Okay, so this is the New York motherfucking joint. And this kind of shows a disparity between, like, what's going on in the rest of the country and what's going on kind of on the East Coast and California, places like this. Two of the most heinous parts of the bill describe new parameters of abortion. The patient is within 24 weeks of commencement of pregnancy, and second, this is the worst qualifier, or the abortion is necessary to protect the patient's life or health. A wording that the second phrase is so comprehensive, even in legal lingo, protecting the patient's health could mean almost anything. The new bill ensures that New York remains the most progressive of all states in pushing forward reproductive rights, an absurd term for baby killing per the CDC. About 1 in 3 unborn babies are aborted in New York City. 1 in 3 unborn babies are aborted in New York. And also, yeah, I really don't care about black kids. Fucking, like, yo, it is what it is. You'll fucking fix your own shit. To be clear, this is not the passage of abortion rights, but the permission to commit infanticide and call it by another name. An 8-pound baby can survive outside of the womb with very little medical aid. Late-term abortions procedures are ghoulish and graphic. Man, listen, like, abortions performed after 20 weeks gestation when not done by induction of labor, which means a fetal death due to prematurity, are most commonly performed by dilation and evacuation. These particularly gruesome surgical techniques involve... Yo, look, man. All right, so I don't want to read this. Like, yo, 100%, I don't want to read this because, like, I got babies, nigga. Like, it's not positive, right? Like, it's just not. Right. Like, yo, I got monkeys and shit. Like, yo, I'm not gonna read this. So here's part 2 to this, right? You know what I mean? Let's have this conversation, because I think this is kind of like the important part of this, right? Is the issue between, like, why do men get to have a say? Like, yo, because men are born. You know what I mean? Yo, we should have a right to be able to say whether or not we get born. All right, so. And the issue is that this is all about female responsibilities, right? Like, you want to have a right, you have to have a responsibility. And it's like, you know, you want to enact your right to own firearms, right? Fine. You know what I mean? But, like, you have to do that responsibly. That means, like, you know, making sure that, like, your guns aren't loaded at home when you have kids and shit, and making sure they're, like, either locked up or fucking out of their reach and things of this nature, right? Like, you want to make sure that you act responsibly when you have a right. Like, you have a right to travel, so therefore you can drive a car. But that means that, like, you don't get to, like, commit DUIs and things of this nature. Like, it's fucking important that we have these type of conversations and shit, right? You know what I mean? Like, you have to have responsibility that goes with this. And you go, man, listen, like, all of your other right is just a right, you know what I mean, that, like, you know, that women, this is the only right that women have and have to have a responsibility for. Well, I'm sorry, bitches, but, like, it's true. Like, either A, you motherfucking give up that right because, like, you don't have responsibility for it, or B, you know, like, you fucking take responsibility. One of the two. You know what I mean? Like, either you can't have rights without responsibilities. It's that simple. And so, like, I know, like, you're going to hear a whole bunch of broads go, wah, but the hormones. I'm like, wah, but nothing. You know what I'm saying? They have no fucking actual goddamn fucking birth control for men. Like, not one. But you know what I'm saying, have 12. Right, legitimately. And, like, out of those 12, there's tons of different plethoras of choices. So let's talk about it. Permanent birth control, right? It's a surgical procedure that makes a person who can produce sperm unable to cause a pregnancy, or a person who can ovulate unable to become pregnant. Permanent birth control is not reversible and prevents pregnancy 99% of the time. While women can choose from a bilateral tubal ligation at the hospital, aka having your tubes tied, or a tubal block done in a health center, men may choose a vasectomy. That is the only joint that men have, is a vasectomy. That is it. Okay? IUD. A small T-shaped device that is placed inside the uterus by a healthcare provider to prevent pregnancy 99% of the time. Less than 1 out of 10 women will get pregnant each year if they use an IUD. Available in non-hormonal copper and hormonal plastic options, IUD is one of the most effective forms of birth control you can can last anywhere between 3 and 10 years, depending on which type you choose. Non-hormonal and hormonal IUDs work to prevent sperm from fertilizing an egg. Let me keep it 100. All right. These are painful for the dude, not for the female. They're painful for the dude. Legit. Like, I've never had sex with a female who had an IUD and not felt like somebody was poking the front of my dick with a fucking needle every time you stick it the fuck in. That shit is fucking miserable. All right. Implant. A small rod placed under the skin in the upper arm by a healthcare provider to prevent pregnancy 99% of the time. Less than 1 out of 100 women will become pregnant using the implant. The implant lasts for 3 years, releasing the hormone progestin to stop the ovaries from releasing eggs, and it thickens cervical mucus, so it's difficult for sperm to enter the uterus. Right? The shot. An injection given by a medical professional or hormone progestin in the arm, a hip, or hip that lasts 3 months and prevents pregnancy 99% of the time. Less than 1 out of 10 women get pregnant each year. Right? The vaginal ring. A flexible ring is inserted into the vagina each month for 3 weeks at a time that prevents pregnancy 99% of the time. Less than 1 out of 100 women will get pregnant each year if they always use a ring as directed. Patch. Hormonal. A patch is applied like a sticker weekly anywhere in the skin except for the breast and prevents 99% of pregnancies. Right? It's like legit. The pill. You know what I mean? It works 99% of the time. You're responsible and take it every fucking day. Condoms. Available in latex, polyurethane contacts, and also lambskin. And, you know, I mean, if you really have to fucking get it done, trash bag, right? Which prevents pregnancy, and 98% of the time are placed over an erect penis to stop sperm from entering the vagina. Inserted female condoms inserted in the vagina and prevent pregnancy 95% of the time. This means that 5 out of 10 women become pregnant if she inserts a condom. Emergency contraceptives. Emergency contraceptives can be used 5 days after unprotected sex and come out in the form of a pill or copper IUD, having varying degrees of effectiveness. Emergency contraception prevents pregnancy from occurring by not preventing ovulation and thickening the cervical mucus, but does not cause an abortion. Spermicide. Made with sperm killing chemicals, spermicides such as foams, suppositories, or film used separately, not in combination, to prevent pregnancy 82% of the time. Right? It means 18 out of 100 women might get pregnant. But then again, you know, motherfuckers is terrible what they do. Fertility awareness, natural family planning. Prevents pregnancy 76% of the time. 24 out of 100 women who natural family planning will have a pregnancy. Withdrawal to pull out method. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I'm saying, niggas, if you got the willpower, you know what I mean? Like, yo, it works. Well, I'm saying, you got to get that motherfucker up out of there. You can pretend the motherfucking, like a lot of this shit is literally just dudes like nothing, and that motherfucking standing here going, oh yeah, man. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I pulled out, right? Yo, fucking lying ass motherfucker. Like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? So Like, yo, but I'm saying, like, legitimately, like, females have a lot of fucking options. Dudes do not have a lot of options. It's kind of the mentality. This is a responsibility that you have to take, right? And it's legit. It's just about responsibility. And standing here suggesting that, I mean, because I don't mind the idea of, you know, like, I'm not completely anti-abortion, like 100%. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not fucking bad about the morning after pill or anything like that. I'm a reasonable ass dude, legit. But like, on the same point, you should be taking responsibility beforehand. It should not be something that you do all the time. Legitimately. It just shouldn't be. But anyway, yo, look, man. I'm Tom Pease with Pnoid News. Man, y'all motherfuckers, y'all know what it is. Yo, look, make sure you go watch my new cartoon. I'll leave a link in the description. All the links for all the information that I posted in here, I will be leaving in the description. So if you want to check any of my math or look at what I'm looking at, you can do so and check out what the hell I'm saying. I'm pretty sure this is a fucking pretty goddamn reasonable goddamn video, but you know how this works. Motherfuckers are going to Anyway, yo, look, y'all know what it is. Like, share, and subscribe, pussies. Peace.